All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about legal land descriptions. So, what legal land descriptions are is private property owned by private individuals in the United States, and in order to do that, you have to describe such land and that there's no confusion over who owns what. So, in 1785, in the U.S. Continental Congress, they decided that we need to set up a new surveying system, and that system is called the rectangular system. They put Thomas Jefferson in charge of organizing it. This was the first time this has been used. Canada later adopted it, but they used basically principal meridians, baselines, townships, sections, and tracts, and we'll talk about those coming up. The big thing, though, in the original 13 colonies in Texas, because Texas at the time was ran by the Spaniards, they're already surveying land in what was called the meets and bounds system, so they do not fall into the rectangular land surveying system. But Illinois, because it wasn't a state yet in 1785, it falls under the rectangular land survey. So the first thing we're going to talk about is principal meridian. This is a line that runs from north to south and is used as a benchmark for surveys. Okay, so think of a principal meridian like a longitude line. Okay, they generally run along longitude lines, um, but this is how we divide townships from east to west. Okay, and then we have baselines, and that runs east to west, and this is also referred to as a parallel. So think of these as latitude lines. So generally, if to go to your algebra class, you have an XY coordinate plane where the x-axis runs horizontal and the y-axis runs vertical. So your principal meridian is your y-axis, your baseline is your x-axis, and then all those grids you make is essentially townships. Okay, so these two things, the principal meridian and the baseline, work together to create the skeleton of the rectangular survey system. Okay, so in Illinois, we have the third principal meridian that pretty much splits the state right down the middle. It's this red line here. Also, there's the fourth principal meridian, which kind of affects over here in what we call West Central Illinois, right here. And then if you go into Indiana, that's where the second principal meridian is. Uh, but again, Illinois, pretty much everything's east and west of the third principal meridian or the fourth. Then we have this baseline down here that cuts through not quite Highway 50, but kind of close to where Highway 50 would be in the southern Illinois. And then they go north south off of that. Okay. And I believe the top border is also a baseline. So we mentioned townships, so let's talk about what townships are. So a township is an area of land that is 6 miles wide, 6 miles long, for a total of 36 square miles. Okay, so just think of a township as a bunch of little blocks. All right, so we put all those townships together, and that's what makes the basis of where one more step to narrow it down, so that you live in a certain township. Okay, so how we figure out those or describe those townships is you're either so many ranges east or so many ranges west of a certain principal meridian. So, like in Illinois, probably the third principal meridian. And then, so that gets you one direction, then the other direction is tiers north or south of a baseline. Okay, so we go up 3 tiers north, or go down 5 tiers south, or we go east 6 ranges, or west 8 ranges. All right, so that's how that kind of lets you put it in only one spot. Okay, because you can only go so many tiers north, so many tiers east, and you follow that, and it comes to one township and that township only. Okay. Also, just some other general information. In a township, there are 23,040 acres. Okay. So a township is a fairly large piece of land. If you think about, 6 square miles, it's about 6 miles from Harrisburg to Carrier Mills. So that would be the length of one side of a township. Okay, so here it is drawn out for you. So this is a random baseline, random principal meridian. if we want to talk about this town, all these blocks are townships. Okay, so if we want to talk about this township up here with an S, we would describe it as it is the it is in the fourth range to the east, range 4 east, and it's in tier. These are tiers here, tier 3 north. Okay, so you just use on whatever this number and letter is. So if you want to do this one, it would be range 3 west and tier 4 north. Okay, so that's how we determine what where these townships are. So these are all just you look at all of Illinois is broken up into these 6 square mile chunks of townships. Okay, so inside that township, because the township, like we said, is a 6 square mile or 36 square mile area. It's a pretty big amount of space. So we break that up into square mile tracts. So and we make those 1 square mile areas sections. Okay, so within a township, there are 36 sections, and each section contains 640 acres. Okay, so that section is 1 square mile. So if we picture this box as a township, so this is 6 miles by 6 miles, which you can see if every one of these is 1 square mile, this lays out all 36 sections, okay? So when we get to a township, we start in the northeast corner up here with number 1, and we number all of them the same. Sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, jump down to 7, and it just zigzags or snakes all the way down till you end at 36 down here. Okay? So all townships are laid out like this. Okay? Now, most people own less than one section. Now, it would be kind of cool to own a section, but generally speaking, people own less than 640 acres. So we break that down into a tract. So the tract is like the smallest area. And tracts could be as small as like a lot in town, or it could be a 1 acre tract out in the country. It could be a 40 acre tract. It could be a 200 acre tract. It just depends on how that land's been divided and sold over the years. All right. But one person or a group of people own a tract. Okay. And tracts are generally located within a section. Sometimes they might have cross section lines, and that's fine. They might break it up on the deed on how which signifies what you own, and this much in this section, and tells you this much in another section. Okay. So we did all this to talk about how we signify what do you own. Okay, so the reason being is if you buy property, you're going to buy a set area, and you need to be able to describe what is that set area and what do I own, so that like if you want to hunt there, if you want to build a house, if you want to sell it, you know exactly what you're dealing with. Okay, so we do all that with legal descriptions, and we're going to do this kind of in the most simple, basic way. In the real world, everything's not this clean and broken up into quarters and halves. But for what we're doing in this class, everything will be. All right, so we're going to start, unless you own the whole section, it's pretty simple. Then you own, section 2 of range 3 east, tier 4 north, or whatever. But most people own less than that. So in this one, they broke this section up into 4 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And so we can say that this is a quarter, 1/4 of this whole section. Okay. Now, to go one step further, we need to know, well, there's 4 of them. So which one is it? So we do it directionally. We say it's north, north goes up. So you have the north half and the south half. And then we say it's east because you got the east half and the west half. So this is the northeast 1/4 or northeast quarter of our section here. Okay. So, and that's down here. And that, if you just take 1/4 and multiply it by 640, you'll get 160. So if you own a quarter of a section, you own 160 acres, which that was, if you know much about the Homestead Act, when you homesteaded out west, you got 160 acres, or you got a quarter of a section. All right, so when we get to this one, we break it down a little bit smaller. Okay, so we have, uh, you know, if we can remember from the last time, this is a quarter of the section, so that'd be the second half of this. But this one is the northwest fourth, northwest 1/4 of the section. Okay, but it's not all of it; it's only half of it. So what we say is this is the east half of the northwest 1/4. Okay, so the reason how we do that is it's on the east side. So you can either have the east half or the west half when you deal with halves. Or if this were split this way, you could have the north half or the south half. All right, uh, you wouldn't ever have like a northeast 1/2 or a northwest 1/2. It's always north, south, east, or west half. Okay, one direction when it comes to halves, and then when 1/4, it'll always be two directions. Okay, so we break it down smaller yet again. So within this part, there's two ways to do this. We can start big. So if we look, we're in the southeast 1/4, the big part. And then with inside that southeast 1/4, we're in the northwest 1/4. Okay, so you'd read this as the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter. Okay, and that's 40 acres. So you read it from the smallest part to the biggest part. Okay, so even an official one after that would have what tier and range the township was in, or actually have the section number and then tier and range of the township that section falls in. All right, so then again, we break it down even smaller. So if you start out big again in the whole section, this is the southwest 1/4. That's all the way over here. And then inside of here, we can break it down into the northeast 1/4 within this section. Okay, so we put that in the middle, and then further, they've split it in half. So this is the west half of, now you when you get down into this area, you forget this, you forget this. So between here and here, is it east or west? Well, it's west. West is on this side. So it's the west half of the northeast, because this compared to this is the northeast 1/4 of the southwest, because in the whole picture down here is the southwest 1/4. It's 20 acres. Okay, so let's try it a little bit of our own. So on this one, we're going to look at this and be like, okay, well, north, south, so it's in the south half, and then east or west, it's in the west, so it's the southwest 1/4 of section 30. Okay, and we got that over here. That's your answer. Okay, so what's the legal description in this one? All right, so if we start big, it's either north or south. Well, it's the north half. Then is it east or west? Well, it's the west, so it's northwest 1/4. And then inside of here, we look, is it north or south? It's the south. And then is it east or west? It's east, so it's the southeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of, and then we get to section 30 from down here. So it's the southeast 1/4 and the northwest 1/4 of section 30. That's this right here. And then this last one is look here, and is it in the north or the south? Well, it's the south. Is it the east or the west? It's the east, so it's the southeast 1/4. And then, okay, this is split in half, north half, south half. So this would be, because the X is down here, it's the south half of the southeast 1/4. So south half of the southeast 1/4 of section 30. All right, so that's kind of the general, application theory behind sections. But now we're going to look at a plat book, and this puts it into real life application. So the plat book is a book put out generally by the Farm Bureau in Saline County. The Farm Bureau sells them, and it shows all the tracts and property, tracts over 1 acre owned in Saline County. Okay, so Saline County kind of happens to just, this is the shape of Saline County. If you didn't know, it's just a big rectangle. Okay, so in Saline County, there are 9 full townships and 3 half townships. Now, there's 2 kinds of townships. There's congressional townships, and those are what we just talked about. Your 6 miles by 6 miles, perfect squares. Now, sometimes they're not always perfect, because when you start at 2 prime meridians and go to the middle. It doesn't match up perfectly. And those prime meridians, as they go north, actually get a little bit closer. So that can throw it off. But that was notwithstanding, generally a congressional township is just a nice square 6 miles. But when we had towns and built roads, especially in southern Illinois, in the geography and the topography of the land, it didn't work out that neat. Okay, Carrier Mills kind of sits on a congressional township border, so the congression or the we also have what's called governmental or civil townships, and those kind of more fit what's best for the local government. So, like Stone Fort's down here in this corner of the county, the Stone Fort Township for like voting and maybe township road commissioner follows this line, not what would be we would consider Tier 10 South, Range 5 East Township, which is this one right here. Okay. Now, some of them, Raleigh, Harrisburg, Independence, they all fit East El Dorado. They all fit nice square 6 mile townships. Now, these here, so Saline County, for Saline County purposes, this right here, if you're living here, you're a Saline County resident and you're in Tate Township. Now, your township identification for congressional work, Tier 7S, Range 5 East, would be the same here. Or if you're north in Hamilton County, you could have the same township, but you're a Hamilton County resident up here, you're a Saline County resident down here. So for government purposes, it's one thing, but for your actual survey and your deed, you're going to use the same tiers and ranges. Okay. So like this is made by Saline River, I think South Fork of the Saline River. There used to be a little town out here called Brushy. It's no longer there. There's Rector Creek up here. These are generally named, there's Independence School, if you ever heard of that. That's why it's Independence Township. And then you ever heard of Eagle Mountain? That's why this is a mountain township down here. Okay, so let's going to look at Independence Township. So within the plat book, they have one of these for every township. Now, they use the civil townships to lay them out. They don't use the congressional ones. But with inside, each page has a township on it. Okay. So, like I said, this is a nice, also congressional one. So if we look, we start up here at section 1. We weave through them just like we talked about, all the way down here to section 36. It also tells you the tier and the range, Tier 10 South, Range 6 East. So we're 10 tiers or 60 miles south of that baseline, and we're 6 ranges east or 36 miles east of the prime meridian. Okay. This also shows highways, if like Highway 34, Highway 45 going down. Mitchellsville's right here. The split, if you're going to Hardin County on Highway 34 to Rudiment. If you're going to Paducah, 145 south down this way, Pope County. All right. And it breaks down, all these little lines are tracts. Now, you notice a lot of them are kind of funky shaped. They don't fit into that nice, clean, what we were just talking about, where square 40s, square or rectangular 80s, and such. But we're going to zoom in a little bit. So this is Independence Township. We just got that top corner, sections 1, 2, and then 11 and 12. Okay. So what's kind of weird, there's a lot of lines on here, so you got to kind of look past them. Kind of ignore, this is Pearson Hill Road. This right here is, I think that's Pearson Hill. Yeah. This is Ewell Road. This is kind of out here around, and again, this plat book is a couple of years old, maybe a 2008 edition. So a lot of this land, some of this land has changed hands since. This is pretty close to where the coal mine of Mitchellsville is. But anyways, if we look at kind of squares, so if you look at this line right here and this line right here, that breaks up, that's section 1. So then you look at the road, and this line makes section 2. And then down here, section 11, and then section 12. All right, so the first question on this is, what's the legal description of Jack Wise's tract in section 1? So section 1, we're looking here. And we're looking for one labeled Jack Wise. All right, here's Jack Wise. Okay, now, one thing the plat book does help you with is it tells you what the acreage is. So the acreage is 80. All right. So this section, the top half of it is just 480s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, minus this little bitty corner up here, it's less than an acre. They that might have been a house, and whoever had the house wanted to sell the farmland or whatever, for whatever reason, that got split out that little less than an acre tract. But Jack Wise here, he's got this nice rectangular 80. Okay, so right here's the middle of our section. So this is the north half, this is the south half, and this divides it east-west. So this is the west half, this is the east half. So if we look at Jack Wise, he's in the northeast 1/4, northeast quarter of section 1. Okay, but within that section, he's one half of it. So is he the east half or the west half? Well, he's on the east or the west half. So he would be the west half of the northeast quarter of section 1 in the Independence Township. Okay, now let's look at the legal description for Irene and Marion Kent's tract in section 1. Okay, so they're right here, and they're what's called a square 40. And if you ever talk to farmers, they like to own square 40s or square 80s because it makes the farming easier. All right, nice, easy, big field. Everything's laid out nice and straight, easy to farm. But anyways, this square 40, all right, if we know up here is the northeast 1/4, then we know this is the south half. So this is the south. And then is it east or west? Well, obviously it's east. So it's the southeast 1/4 is the bigger one. And then this is broken into fourths, right? So this is the northeast 1/4 of the southeast 1/4, where this would be the northwest 1/4 of the southeast 1/4. And this would be the southeast 1/4 of the southeast 1/4. So again, northeast 1/4 of the southeast 1/4 of section 1 of the whole township.